This is the 52 Weeks to Wealth. My name is Walter Murillo, and we've been traveling through these 52 weeks now for 14 weeks. 15 weeks. This is Wealth Principle 15, the Law of Reciprocity. Hands to the camera if you're still committed to doubling your income and doubling your net worth. Excellent. Awesome. So Alchemist Nation was built with a mission in mind. The idea was 100 millionaires inspired to build 100 millionaires. We do that primarily through real estate, but we also do it through getting our mindset right, building deep relationships, and also taking action. Hands to the camera if you believe in action, if you know action is the cause of all results. Absolutely. And sometimes inaction can also cause results. So action in all forms. These 52 weeks were built on 52 wealth principles. The wealth principles are associated with a book. Each book was designed and chosen for the principle that is associated to it. The reason that there are books involved is because the average CEO, top earning, highest earning wealth people on the planet read 50 to 60 books a year. Show of hands if that's a lot of books. That's more than the average person reads. In fact, the math behind that is the average person only reads one book a year. And in most cases, they don't finish the book. So by reading 52 books that are based in principles and then studying the principles live in a call like this, we get the actual implementation of that book 1 week at a time. So as we're going through today's principle, leveraging the law of reciprocity, I want you to keep in mind that this is designed for your business. If you're in real estate, show of hands, if you're in real estate, then you're going to find that this is a game-changing principle for you, especially if you want to acquire more real estate this year. If you'd like to use other people's capital, by the way, show of hands, if you're using OPM, that's other people's money. Excellent. So that is a necessity for real estate. You can't buy all yourself unless you learn leverage. So the other component that you can leverage is OPT. That is other people's time. And if you don't have other people on board with you, now is a good time to start, especially with the market shifting and shaking the way it has been. There's a lot of opportunity being created in the real estate market right now, but the only people who get access to it are those who've been building their networks today. Show of hands if you're committed to building your network, no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. Awesome. So let's dive into the law of reciprocity. For those of you who have ever had a smile given to you before, you've experienced an innate tinkling, a tickling inside your mind where you had to smile back. Have you ever smiled to somebody else after they smiled to you? And that smile felt good. It's called reciprocation. So you've given a smile and received a smile. There's another transaction that happens. Somebody gives you a compliment and you give them a compliment back. Show of hands if that's happened to you before. Hey, you look good today. You too, thanks. That shirt looks good on you. Hey, I like yours. Those are reciprocated compliments. So we're going to talk today about how to use that if you want to do it in your business to acquire more real estate. That doesn't necessarily mean you give a piece of real estate to get a piece of real estate. Show of hands if we know that wouldn't work. That wouldn't end us with the real estate we were looking for. So the law of reciprocity is used in different ways to get different results. It's not always equal exchanges. Though the exchange will be equal, but the goal is to have more real estate in your pocket than smiles, we'll say. So there are 3 steps, 3 types of reciprocity, 3 types of ways that you can leverage this principle. The first is emotional reciprocity. And emotional reciprocity is based on the idea of a feeling, of a thought, of something that has been given and then received. So the first form of emotional reciprocity could be the form of a smile. It could be a compliment. It could be in creating an experience for another human being, but it does not involve, we'll call it material or financial giving. It doesn't involve doing or actions for another person. This is simply creating an experience, creating an emotional experience. Now, what's interesting about the law of reciprocity, before we dive deeper into the other 2, is that you can exchange one for another. And I'll go into that in just a minute, but I want you to keep in the back of your mind that first, a smile, a compliment, a show of care or concern also will create or trigger inside the mind the desire to do the same for you. Or if you do not allow that reciprocation to happen in that moment, it could transmute into something else later. So as we're thinking about acquiring more real estate or acquiring more capital, we want to keep in our minds that this is a tool for doing exactly that, or acquiring more relationships. This is a tool for doing all 3. The second law of reciprocity, the second type of reciprocation is material or financial reciprocation. This is where you give a thing and a thing is given back. You see this at Christmas time. Who here has been to that wonderful holiday where you get gifts and you like the gifts, and you also feel like if you didn't bring a gift, then you suck as a human being? That's an internal feeling. That's an internal emotion based on giving. So we all prepare before we go to an event where we know there's going to be giving. We all seem to think in our head, we've got to go get something. Show of hands if you've had that thought at least. You may not all act on it, but you've at least thought, I've got to bring something because there's a likelihood that they're going to give me something. There's an example of the Big Bang Theory. This is where Sheldon does not know what level of gift to buy his girlfriend. Doug McGurk showed us this in the Mastery Call the other day. And so instead of like buying something that he thinks she'll like, he buys a dozen gifts that would be given. One would be given at different intervals depending upon the gift that she gives. This is truly giving for giving. And in this episode, she ends up getting him something so amazing. It's some article of clothing, that a napkin or something that was signed by the old actor who was a Vulcan on Star Trek. And so he like brings out all the gifts and says, this is like the greatest gift ever. I never could have matched this. And he was super excited. That's an example of material reciprocation. The other one would be financial reciprocation. You give money and the person gives money back, or you give a thing and the person gives money back. Show of hands if you've ever bought a coffee with dollars, with US dollar bills. Yes, or a debit card. You bought a coffee and then the coffee was given to you and the money was given to them. This is an example of a physical exchange with two different types of materials. Not like, but different, but worth the same. The law of reciprocity works in material. It also works in action. So we're going to move to the third way that reciprocation can work. It works in doing things, or in the business world, we call it services. So if somebody does a thing for you, you could respond emotionally, you could respond materially, or you could respond by owing them a favor as well. Show of hands if somebody has done something for you and instantly felt like you owed them one, right? It even probably came out of your mouth. Oh, I owe you one. You've taken care of me. Now I owe you one. What's interesting about the law of reciprocity is that it can grow exponentially and unconnectedly, dependent upon time and dependent upon the need of the person, the perceived value of that emotional connection, that material possession, the financial reciprocation, or the thing that was done for them. I'm going to give you an example of a parent. Who here feels like you owe your parents the world, or at some point you felt that way? You felt like you owe them the world. Now, they did a lot of little things. In fact, they did a lot of really big things. But who here has not given all your money, all your material possessions, and all your love to your parents? Show of hands if you have not given absolutely everything back to your parents. So sometimes the law of reciprocity can be diminished over time as well. If not utilized or context set in place, it diminishes over time. Who here does not believe you still owe your parents for feeding you, on day 2 of your life? You don't still owe them food for that, right? So this is a perfect example of how the law of reciprocity, if context is not set, can diminish over time as well. In another arena, who here has a mentor who has like completely changed their life and you have no idea how you could ever pay them back? You've got somebody in your life who's like contributed to you, or an experience, a teacher, a mentor, a coach, somebody above you who you just felt like they gave you so much that you could just never attain that. That is another form of reciprocation blowing up over time, because in their mind, all they did was maybe have one sentence. Maybe all I did was put their hand on your shoulder in a moment you needed it. Maybe it was a person who just gave you a hug at the moment that you needed it. That was emotional reciprocation. Or they taught you something or showed you something that could be considered doing something. Giving information to a person is an action. And in those moments, that built a strong I owe you, but because there was no set context around when the owing was done, but there was a strong set context of the fact that the owing is in existence, it took a level in your mind. Who here has friends that you, if they asked you a favor, you would totally owe them, and it would be whatever they asked? Next, then, who here is in a better position now in life than you were when they asked, when they didn't ask, when they gave you that service. Better position. Some of us are. So as we grow in position, our level of gift that we would give back or reciprocation we would give back could potentially grow. Now, obviously, it can also diminish over time as well. So when we're going through life and we're considering the law of reciprocity and how to leverage it, I want you to think about two steps. The first is context, and the second is value. And in order to set the context, you must state the following words. I don't know when, but at some point I might request something from you. Or in business, you may say, yes, absolutely, I will take care of this. And if ever this occurs, please think of me. This is how the referral business works. Who's gotten a referral from somebody else? Gotten a referral for your business from somebody else? There's a good chance that either you owe them one or they owed you one, and you don't even remember what you did to deserve it. Who has shown time or spent time with a person who sent them a referral? Long time ago, even if it was, you don't even remember it. Long time ago, you spent some time with them, or you gave them some information, or you did a service for them. And that stayed in their mind, which is where referrals come from. At some point, there was some level of value delivered, and it was reciprocated in another form down the road. So in order to identify, actually, let me put value on this. So first, you set context, set the context that in exchange for this, I may be delivering other things in the future. I may receive another thing in the future, but also the value of it. In order to create value, we do something called the Socrates Method. And what it is basically asking questions. For example, you have received some sort of value with no expectation of reciprocation. And in that moment, if the person asks you, what do you think that was worth? You now are going to put some sort of value on it. And that's one tool. It's called the Socrates Method, where you ask questions in order to allow somebody else to put value, to put a perceived value on a service, on an emotional feeling, on a material possession, or on some sort of financial gain that they've gotten. In that moment, financial establishment has existed. So perceived value has been created. You can also set perceived value. For example, many times I will tell you that my coaching program is $100,000. You can't even afford it. Don't even ask for it, because I only work with 1 to 2 people per year. That is creating a perceived value on my time. So when I'm delivering any kind of value, in your mind, you're thinking, wow, this is worth some fraction of $100,000. Hence the camera, if that's a good way to set context. You can do the same in your business. In your business and in your relationships. Who here does not currently coach? Show of hands who do not currently coach. Excellent. My guess is you probably do. You probably already are teaching people. My guess is you probably are already holding people accountable to goals that they've told you they want to accomplish. And my guess is you probably are already on some level staying in touch with that person to see how they do. Is this true or true? There are people in your lives that you might be considered a coach on some level. Now, the fact that you're not receiving money directly is just because you never set the context or never set the perceived value. My suggestion would be to start setting perceived value on any of your conversations. And I would put that into action today. So typically we'll have an action step with these principles. Show of hands if you're okay with doing an action step right now. Excellent. So the next time you deliver value to a person, whether it is for free with no desire ever to receive anything in the back end. By the way, the law of reciprocity, I'm not talking about giving to take. What I'm suggesting is that we give and set a context on its value. The difference between givers and people who don't have a lot, because all the people who are richest and the people who are poorest are all givers. This is a true fact. There's a book called Give and Take that teaches this principle. And the givers at the top, the richest people on the planet, are givers. And the people at the bottom are also givers. The people in the middle are matchers and takers. Now, we don't like takers. They're the worst. They're the most evil people on the planet. And then matchers basically are like fakes. They'll give if you give. It's always equal, though. Very organized with these people. And they happen to do a little bit better than takers. But the givers at the top have learned to set context on the value of their gift. They're not saying, hey, you have to give me. They're not like matchers where they're saying you have to give me for me to give. They're saying I'm going to give anyway. But just so you know, here's the value of the gift. Here's what others have paid for it. Here's the value or the perceived value existence of this gift. And if you ever are able or in a position to reciprocate, here's a way to do so. And if you're not, it's okay. The people at the bottom, the poorest, the most resentful of their gift of giving are the people who say, give freely, and then later on say, man, everybody just takes advantage of me. I give and I give and I never get back. And giving just sucks, but I can't change who I am. I'm a giver. Show of hands if you've ever experienced that feeling before, being a giver yourself, been taken advantage of. We can't blame the takers or the matchers. They're like the wind, right? They're like the weather. They're going to do what they do. We can only take ownership of how we set the context in our relationships. If we set the context of who we spend our time with, spend your time with givers, spend your time with people who know that no matter what, they're going to give. And then this is boundaries. Yes, Scott, exactly. Set the boundaries of who you're going to spend your time with. Successful people tend to be givers. Successful people tend to have gotten to where they are by giving and setting a context around the value of their gift. If you can take both of those components, set the context of the value, or perceived value, and set the context of I'll always give, and here's how you could provide back, here's how you could bring it back, and you will change your life. So let's do an action step. Let's pull out a piece of paper, put your name at the top, and underneath your name, I want you to write, I give freely of, and then you can provide the gift that you give. Every business, everybody gives something away for free. If you're a real estate investor, you're typically giving away a valuation of a house. You're typically giving away value information on how your investment model works. You're typically giving away information on how real estate investing in general works. Show of hands if you've had these conversations while doing your business. I know for sure agents, lenders, attorneys, investors themselves have done all of this. Just free information on the people you're looking to have a conversation with. And you can let them know, so you know this conversation is, I'm giving it to you for free because I like you and because I believe it'll be valuable. But so you know, this conversation is worth this, or there is a lot of my time is valuable. If nothing else, you don't have to put value on the conversation. You can just put value on your time. And you say, look, with these conversations, if I don't do anything here, then I may have lost $5,000 or $10,000, but I'm going to do it anyway because I believe in giving. So step one, write down what is your gift that you give. Is it a free consultation? Is it a evaluation of their home? Is it an evaluation of their portfolio? Is it a free informative website or a book or a course or a training? Is it a just listening to them? Like the checkup from the neck up. A lot of coaches will give away a session of just checking in with a person. Therapists will give away a session of checking in with a person. Real estate investors often will go out to a house free of charge and review the house and then submit an offer. Your offer is considered valuable. Show of hands if all of this makes sense. We understand that we're doing valuable things. It's important to set the context. The second thing is to decide on the value of your time. You must set some form of price on the value of your time. Now, perfect example, Rich. Another example is a lawyer giving a free consultation. Absolutely. Or a realtor going out to your house and give you a home valuation. Absolutely. Or a realtor who sits down with you, or a mentor who sits down with you and says, here's how closing works. Here are the 7 steps of putting your name on deeds. Here's how real estate works. Those are all free values that are not free, because I can assure you at scale, you'll start to have to charge, right? If you have 1,000 points in a day, you're going to start looking and saying, which one am I taking? Probably the one that pays me, true or true. I've seen contractors doing it in the last few years. Contractors used to give their free, evaluation on a project, free quote. Now they're charging $100 to give a quote, or $200 just to show up to give a quote. Show of hands if you've been in the business and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's contractors out there who literally will charge you to give you a quote now because they've gotten so busy they can't handle the work. So I want you to think about that. Now, the Socratic Method, I talked about it for a second. And before we dive into the book of the week, I want to just share what the Socratic Method is. You may also have heard me call it diagnostic selling. Show of hands if you've heard me say diagnostic selling before. So what it really is it's based on the Socratic Method. And what Socrates had figured out is if you ask a person a series of questions, you will soon identify leverage over that human being. You will soon identify a series of truths about that person that dictate their differences from other people. So if I were to have a conversation with Roland, I know Roland is a property manager, so I can have a conversation with him and be like, hey, what do you want? And if we were talking about his business, he would say, I'm looking for people who own property. I'm looking for landlords who own property. And that would be a little different because what he's looking to deliver is the value of their properties managed better, having higher cash flow and having less stress. Whereas if I have that same conversation with someone like, let's call it Brian Huffman. Brian Huffman, I know, is now selling infinite banking. So he may not look at the same type of client. He may not look for the same type of client. He maybe look for somebody who's got a family and has established some wealth, or a business owner who's established some wealth and is now looking to get their wealth and invest it into other assets while still getting money and having a life insurance policy on their family. So there's a couple of different ways or reasons that a person may reach out to somebody. So the questions that they're going to ask are going to be different. True or true? So underneath your value, right, underneath your product or your offering that you're giving away for free, you have the second step is your value, what you perceived value of your time is, what perceived value of that offering is. The third step are the questions you ask, the diagnostic questions you ask to identify if this person is even interested in your free step, interested in your valuable proposition, and if they're capable of using it. For example, if I talk to one of my tenants and I ask them, would you like to buy a house this year? Their answer will inevitably, most of the time, be, well, I would like to own a house, but I don't have the money. Or I'd like to own the house, but I don't, I'm not ready yet. I'm fine being a tenant right now. Very rarely will I have a tenant say, I want to go buy a house this year. But if I go to an investor association, who here has been to a RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, across the country? Yes, of course. We're now running them. If you went into one of those and I asked the same question, who here wants to buy a house? Everybody's hand will go up. Literally, every single human being in that room, hands will raise up because they're interested in buying real estate, whereas tenants are interested in renting real estate. Show of hands if we understand that the questions you ask will dictate the right information to the person. So for example, tenant, we're qualifying them. We want our tenants to stay in for a long time. So we'll ask, do you have any intention of moving? How long do you plan on living here? And some will say 1 year, some will say 2 years, some will say 3 years, or some will say, I've got a family and I just want to find a place I can live the rest of my life, or, for a long period of time. I'm more likely to take the tenant who wants to stay there forever over the tenant who's saying they're going to move in a year, because that's not the sort of thing we're in the business of. Hands to the camera, if evictions are expensive and turnovers are expensive, we want to keep our people for the longest time possible. So I want you to just think about that on step 3. What questions, and you write down a few, what questions are the right questions to ask in order to identify if this person is even worthy of my service and will understand the perceived value of it. For example, real estate investors, if you're looking to buy houses this year, you should probably find out if somebody even owns a house. You should also ask if they own the house in the market you're looking to buy. You might want to ask if they own the type of property you're looking to buy. I only buy multifamilies. So for me, talking to people who own condos and single families is not going to work out. I'd be asking questions to find out how many units they own. If they only own 2 or 3 units, I'm not going to buy a 2 or 3 family anymore. We're looking at 20 to 40 units. So I'd be asking those questions to find out, where are you at? Show of hands if we can ask these questions, if we can go through this diagnostic selling process. Excellent. Now, every week we talk about one of the books, and there's a book a week each week. I know Mike Shine is not on the call right now, so I'm going to ask Mitch Jorsky if you have read The Go-Giver by Bob Burg.
I live it, so I have not read it.
All right, in which case, show of hands if you've read Bob Burg's book, The Go-Giver. Excellent. First to unmute the mic gets to give us the review on this week's book of the week.
I got it. So funny enough, I actually have it right in front of me. There's 2 of them. Well, there's multiple of them, but
there's actually 4 of them. Yeah,
but so some of the things I kind of gathered from The Go-Giver is just it kind of talks about a story of like some of the principles that make a successful person, and it's kind of like a little counterintuitive to what most people believe you need to do to make money. And then it talks about some of like the laws behind compensation. So I'm trying to think of one. So it's, I think it was one of them. I believe is you get paid in proportion to how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Which is Walter is a great example of that. But yeah, I think it's a great paradigm shift and teaches people how to just give without an expectation.
Let's give Thurman a big round of applause. Each one of these books is chosen specifically for the wealth principles. Me and Michael Shine, the keeper of the books, the holistic attorney, the closer, we sat down for 2 hours and we discovered that 2 hours was not enough time. So we sat down again, later on in the week for another 2 hours, and we dialed each one of the wealth principles to a book so that we could get, if you want, the ability to really dive deep into a principle and apply it into your life. So Saturday is kind of that stepping stone of here's the principle, here's how you apply it very quickly. And then once you go through the book, it starts really coming into your mind, really taking place and taking hold. We've been talking about, I've got Darina and Ron. Ron flew down here this week to spend some time putting together the next leg of Alchemist Nation, how we help each person here on this call get to the next level, help our leaders, help and build more millionaires. And part of it was principles. And we really had to look at the principles that we use in the 52 Weeks to Wealth and also create additional principles that are specific for Alchemist Nation's leadership team. There's certain principles that just keep coming up over and over. And one of them that wasn't in the 52 Weeks to Wealth, but we've said it over and over, is all dealings must be done morally, ethically, and legally. Hence, Camp, you've heard me say that before. It's often. I don't know if I can go a call without saying it. And we realized that is truly a principle, core belief of Alchemist Nation. All dealings must be done morally, ethically, and legally. And as we're continuing through the rest of this weekend and the rest of this week, we're going to be working on the principles of Alchemist Nation for our leadership team, so that each one of you is able to more efficiently make decisions and be more effective. One of the components is implementing this law of reciprocity, that we as a company, as a community, we give freely of ourselves. We give over and over. In fact, Elizabeth Miller talked about it this week. She said she invited a bunch of people to Alchemist Nation. And one of the reasons was people were asking her for mentorship. They were asking her to coach them, asking her to take them under her wing. And she said, you know what? I've got this great thing on Alchemist Nation, these free courses on wholesaling, if that was what they were interested in, wholesaling. So she said, here's some free courses, here's some value there. And I'm sure she's still answering questions, but she was able to get her time back by delivering something for free that already exists because Alchemist Nation has that abundance mindset. Show of hands, if you can implement systems like this into your life that allow you to give and be a giver and set the law of reciprocity out into the universe for yourself ahead of you. You don't know when those people will develop skills. You don't know if they'll become great wholesalers, but at least get them started in that direction and stay close to them. I think that's something that Elizabeth has really embodied. She ran the wholesaling boot camp for over a year. She's helped a lot of people. Let's give her a big round of applause in the support she's built in this community. She's working on something called Alchemist Skills, which will be coming out soon. And that's where a person can, for a very affordable price, go and learn new skills that'll keep them competitive in this day and age as technology is taking over and shifting out previous skills that are no longer needed. People need to be adjusting. Now, speaking of this economy, who here knows real estate has adjusted? Show of hands, we know real estate is moving around. Things are shifting. Things are moving. Ron and I are making more money this year than we have ever made in our real estate business as well. In our real estate business as investors, we're making more money. We have, I want to say, a $750,000 gain coming in just in the next 30 days, which is pretty exciting. So let's give Ron a round of applause. He's running that whole company and he's done an amazing job with it. And what we've learned is that the real estate game really has changed. And we've been running the recession-proof challenge now for almost 10 months. And we just finished the most recent one, which was really powerful. So let's give everybody who was in the challenge a big round of applause. You are killing it. 21 days of reaching out to people, 21 days of building relationships. And this month, we have our recession-proof conference coming up. I don't know if we'll ever run it again, but I do know that we're going to run it this year for this particular reason. It makes sense to understand the new ways of evaluating deals. We're going to have Mitch Jorsky, the Scaredy Cat Guide to Real Estate Investing. He's going to be teaching us how to evaluate real estate deals over the next 2 years, how to evaluate them so that your deals cash flow and that they work. Show of hands if you know there's a lot of people losing property right now. In Houston, 3,000 units were brought back to the market, foreclosed upon by a syndicator who just didn't do things right. And so as we're evaluating deals, we've got to make sure we don't end up in that situation. Show of hands if you commit to only doing good deals. We don't force deals. We don't rush into deals. We only do good deals that cash flow. So that's one of the components. The principles that we're putting into Alchemist Nation is that our deals must cash flow. Our community only invests in deals that provide equity at the close, that provide cash flow at closing and provide equity at closing. Otherwise, as an alchemist, you won't do that deal. And as an alchemist, you're looking to allow others into your company. It's one of the components to being a successful real estate investor is making room for others. If you try to do it all yourself, I guarantee you your income will stay very low. But as you start opening up your mind and giving opportunities and giving the gift of influence and giving the gift of control over their lives, people will start filling your company and helping you get to that next level. Hands to the camera if you're okay with letting others win. In fact, not just letting, but guiding them towards winning, showing them how to get there. This mission, I want to show you the map. We're very close. Mark Dozwa is working on a map for Alchemist Nation based on what was asked for by our leadership team. We were in a call this past week, and everybody who's a leader in Alchemist Nation said they want to be able to see other people's events. They want to know when their events are. They want to know where their events are. They want to know what time their events are. And it'd be nice to see the progress that we as a community are making with new events across the country. I will tell you there's over 31 events that exist currently that have already done an actual live meetup per month. There are 25 new events being created in Florida right now. I think there's another 5 new events being created in Boston right now. So let's give Jen Sullivan a round of applause. She's in charge of creating new events. The map, theoretically, the team is telling me this. The team is telling me that in 2 weeks, we'll be for sure able to show the map. But Mark is somewhat of a slave driver, and he's been pushing the team to say possibly 1 week. They don't know about the 2-week guideline. They only know about the 1-week guideline that Mark's told them. Show of hands, if you understand, we got to set guidelines and hold people accountable. And in the tech world, you know, we've seen it with all of the tech entrepreneurs. It's like, hey, we'll get this, and then that update doesn't come for 2 years. So our update is ideally coming by the summit. The summit this year is November 3rd to the 5th. And our idea is that we're going to be able to release the second version of Alchemist Nation by the summit. The team is pushing very hard. It includes an off-market list. It includes an off-market like MLS that isn't MLS. It's got a lot of features that we've already built, but we want to make it a lot simpler for each one of you as you're building your groups, as you're building your millionaires and building your team. We set a new goal, a new main objective for Alchemist Nation. It's not really new. It's just more defined. And that is a trusted team in every market. It's 300 markets across this country. And we want to be able to put a trusted boots on the ground in every one of those markets. Show of hands, leader, if you're okay with being one of those, being a leader of a powerful real estate acquisitions team. So that's our big, crazy goal. But we already know we have the right mentality for it. We have the right leaders for it. We have the right caring community to pull this off. Now we're working on this week to put those steps in place. So I just want to give each one of our leaders a big round of applause, our volunteers, our hosts, the people behind the scenes. Give yourselves a round of applause for everything that you do. That being said, the Recession Proof Conference is this week. You can go to recessionproofconference.com and register if you haven't already. If you are at the summit and you bought the mastery program, if you're in mastery, we have our mastermind today at 12 o'clock. If you bought mastery, then you automatically got a ticket to the Recession Proof Real Estate Conference and Expo, which is virtual. And if you were in the Recession Proof Challenge at any one of those months, you already have a ticket for this as well. If you have not joined the Recession Proof Challenge or the Mastery Program, you will have to pay $97 to get access to this training. It is 2 days, and it will be this weekend coming up. So it's the 29th and the 30th. Show of hands if you know the recession is inevitable, that is coming. In many cases, it is here in certain parts of the market. We're going to make sure that you know how to invest. We're going to make sure that you know how to do the deals properly. And in the interim, we're going to be building the team to be able to scale across every single market in this country. I don't think that I'll have 300 locations created by the summit. I have set that ridiculously arbitrary, crazy goal for my team, and I'll be pushing them to create 300 events before the summit in 300 major cities. And I don't know how we'll pull it off, but I know that that's what I'm pushing for. And worst case scenario, I want 1,200 events in the next 2 years. each one of our 4 events in each one of the major cities. Hands to the camera if you recognize ambitious goals might get done. If I set them in stone and I let this amazing community know where we're going, there's a good chance that people will come out of the woodwork saying, hey, I've got an idea. Hey, I've got a support. In fact, Elizabeth Miller this week sent us a spreadsheet. She invited all the leaders to the spreadsheet and said, hey, put your event here. And that started triggering the tool in order to create a map. And on the map, we'll be able to have below it, by the way, Mark, this is something Ron and I talked about, and you already have it on the map. Below it, there's an application process for somebody who wants to start a new event. So if you want to start an event, an Alchemist Nation event, you can fill out that application once the map is released. And if it doesn't already exist, we're going to have a conversation. The second thing I've been asked a lot is, well, what if a location already exists? Then help them, volunteer, support the local leaders, but we can't create confusion in the marketplace by having 2 of the same event in the same city. Show of hands if that makes sense. We want to build a strong, cohesive network. The other thing we're going to be looking for are mentors, local mentors. And the local mentors, we've got a structure so it's worth your time. So you're getting paid to mentor, but each one of the local leaders is going to need a support staff of local mentors, people who know how to invest in real estate, people who have the abundance mindset, people who have worked with the team before, so that a person can come into Alchemist Nation and know that somebody cares about them. Somebody is paying attention to them. Somebody's paying attention to whether they're doing a deal or not. Show of hands if you know there are really great mentors in this community, some really smart, intelligent millionaires. They were on these calls at all times. And even if they're not physically on this call, they're watching on Facebook. They're in our masterminds. They're in our inner circle. They're in our business leadership calls. So let's give all of our mentors and our leaders a big round of applause. I appreciate everything that you're doing to grow this community. It is the things that are seen and unseen for our administrative staff behind the scenes that is continuing to grow, for Jen Sullivan, who's taking on a very large team of admins who are putting together virtual groups, in-person groups. It is a lot of work that Alchemist Nation does behind the scenes. It's a lot of work that Mark Dozwald does behind the scenes. So let's give this big team a big round of applause. You've got a huge staff behind you that are caring individuals, supporting, and for everybody who's wearing one of our shirts, yeah, thank you. You're showing other people that you represent. 100 millionaires. I see Elizabeth's got the 100 millionaires sweater. I see Olivia's got the Mission of Millions shirt. We got Generate Income on Rich Ellison. Gary Aker and Brian Huffman are wearing the 100 Millionaires Summit shirts. The Alchemist Nation shirts will be released soon. I'm just testing them out in the gym. I'm just checking them out, just seeing how they do. I got a bunch of different colors, and they'll be out on the website shortly. But I want to let you know that we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the fact that you show up every week, the fact that you're sharing your feedback and giving us a direction to go in. It's so much fun working with a group of people who know what they want in life, who are looking to give to others, who are looking to have impact, who are looking to excel, who aren't afraid of money, who actually like money. Show of hands if you believe money is okay. Money is neither good or evil. It is neutral. It is simply a magnifier of the person you already are. Excellent. Alchemist Nation's here to support others. And I just want to thank everybody who's on track with us, whether you're in the process of becoming a millionaire, whether you're a millionaire, or whether you're a leader, a host, or a volunteer, or a salesperson who's helping bring in sponsors. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. If you showed up, you're important. You're part of the tribe. I want to open this up to Q&A. We'll do some questions. This is your chance to ask the millionaires who are on the call anything about real estate, anything about business, or if you've had some experience where the law of reciprocity has worked for you, this is a good time to share an experience, especially if it's real estate focused, because this community, by the way, this community is growing to buy a lot of real estate over the next 5 years, right? A lot of real estate. Awesome. Go ahead, Thurbin.
Yeah, so one of the things I was curious about was you mentioned like setting context when you reciprocate or give to someone. And so like how are some ways you might phrase that? So we'll use me for an example. Because I'm an author, I can teach people on that process. So how would I like phrase the conversation around that, if that makes sense?
You start with the Socrates Method, diagnostic selling. Ask them why they would write a book. Do they believe they have a book inside of them? Show hands if you believe you have a book inside of you. You may be writing the chapters right now, right? And this is just one page of the book in your life. So first you start by asking if they have a book. The second would be, what would the book be about? And the third is how would you monetize that book? Because if they can't monetize the book yet, Thurban, it's probably unethical for them to go and write it. They're probably not in a place where it makes sense, because a book is a marketing tool. It's a way to get an idea out, and financially, a person has to be in an okay situation to be able to take the time to write a book. And if they can answer something positive to all three of those, then you ask, what's stopping you? And from that point, you start identifying whether they need a coach to write a book, whether they need a ghostwriting service, whether they need just a blueprint. You start identifying what is stopping them. And from that, you can build a reasonable package around that person. Now, as you scale this, you get to the level that we're in Alchemist Nation, we no longer build customized packages. We say, look, this is what it is. This is what you get, and this is what it costs. Because at scale, you do have to systemize. But in the beginning of your business, you've got to find out what the customer even wants, what is in demand. Like in real estate, I'll give you an example of a motivated seller situation. I don't have to ask too many questions. I know what box they're going to fit in. I know what product we're going to go with. Right? We're either going to do seller financing subject to, or I'm going to lock it down. I'm going to go raise capital to buy the house. But it's going to have to be within my buy box. It's going to have to make sense within what I buy. In the beginning, I wasn't quite sure what that would look like, and I had to ask a lot more questions, and then I had to build a custom product to them, something I'd never built before. Now those custom products are built, and they became standardized products. Does that make sense, Thurban?
Yeah, and also too, I was just kind of like thinking like what are some like, I guess, general questions you could ask them, like regardless of what your business is, like what are some like general things I guess you would mention to them?
So generally you're looking for a sign that they're the person for you, right? Each person here, right? If you're looking for, we'll call it super general, right? You're single and you're looking for the right spouse. Are they single? Right? Are they also in a situation where they might be looking for a spouse? And you move all along those questions. Now, to set the context that you are the master of writing books or the master of understanding knowledge or information, that only comes out if it's reasonable to give that information. If you've identified this person has a desire for your product, that's when you will establish yourself as an authority in that subject. There's no point in talking about yourself prior to that, unless you're at an event and you're on stage. You'll hear me speak. When I speak at stages, within the first 15 minutes, I'm showing why a person should listen to me. That's only because I'm one on many. But when you're one-on-one, you don't need to earn the right until you've identified a need for your services. Show of hands if that makes sense. There's a difference between in-person and, well, one-on-one and one-on-many. So you'll hear a lot of speakers talk about their skills and we call it earning the right, and they'll earn the right early on. But that's just because people already kind of understood the context of the talk, understood the context of what they were there for. Next question, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is Roland. And so to your point, Galter, the way I've always looked at it is be interested in the person, right? So instead of trying to be interesting on that one-on-one conversation, be interested. And as people talk and they describe what they do and they talk about their pain points, then you can then evaluate that and determine, okay, what can I do to help this person, get down the path. Most of the time when I have discussions with people I just meet, they end up saying, I've been talking about myself the whole time. What about you? Right? And they turn the conversation to me. They actually request information from me because I've been listening for so long. So what you want to do, you want to start out being interested, just listening and asking questions, just being genuinely inquisitive and interested in getting to know this person on a deeper level. And then from there, you'll be able to build and determine, okay, what can we exchange in terms of business? Is there any connections that we can make, referrals? I mean, because they can go from a spectrum of giving them money, giving them business, giving them referrals, doing something for them on their behalf. So it's a wide spectrum, but the more you know about them, the better you're able to put that together.
And that goes right back to the law of reciprocity. When you listen to somebody, when you're genuinely interested in a person, at some point, if they're an open person, they're going to reciprocate and they're going to be interested in you. And if you find that you've been very interested in a person and they're not interested in you, it might be a sign that it's time to move on. This person's either closed off or they're a taker. And there's no reason to be around somebody like that. Show of hands if that makes sense. Just read the room and keep moving. What else? I saw Anthony, you had your Antonio, you had your hand up earlier, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I found mine. So appreciate it.
Say it again.
Yeah, I did have my hand up. I was wondering what was the book of the week, but then I found the list.
Awesome. So the book of the week is The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. There it is. And the list is on Alchemist Nation. You go to Alchemist Nation, go to the 52 Weeks to Wealth, and this is Wealth Principle 15. Next week is Wealth Principle 16. Develop your fixity of purpose. And we'll walk you through steps on how to identify your fixity of purpose, or as Simon Sinek popularized, your why. It's very important to have your why locked in if you're looking to raise capital, if you're looking to buy a lot of real estate, if you're looking to build a team, they need to know why they're doing it. You need to have a fixity of purpose in order to keep yourself motivated on those days you're not so motivated. Let's give Antonio a round of applause. He found the book. That's resourcefulness.
Also, The Go-Giver, that's 3. It's a book series of 3. Are we reading all 3 of them, or
Just the original, but there are actually 4 others. You got the leader, you got the influencer, and let's see. Then there's the sell more. So this is for sales. And then there's the original.
Got it. Thanks.
Which of those talks about the law of reciprocity in the context and value?
They all talk about the law of reciprocity.
All right, what's a
And
good place to start? Which one?
Go with the original one. The red one is a really good place to start.
All right.
And
Yeah,
you'll
I like
hear the
this.
context of value in it all throughout the book. You'll notice they use fictional characters. It's a really fun read. The way that was done, it's actually, I interviewed Bob Berg a while back, and he said that John David Mann is actually the one who created those characters. So Bob Berg explained the principles. They wrote this book together, and he said that John's really the one who has like those creative characters and brought all those into place. But Bob's the one really producing the principle and like going through it. He also wrote the book Endless Referrals, which again goes back to the idea of giving.
Okay, yeah, because that emotional reciprocity, like that's completely new and like you monetize that. Like really?
Oh yeah.
To me,
Oh,
that felt
yeah.
fake. I always thought of the other two of material or financial services or reciprocation. I never really thought of the emotional one, so that's completely like new concept.
It's interesting because you've probably heard of cuddlers or huggers as a service. There are people who actually get paid to cuddle or hug a person for 20, 30 minutes. And that is the most extreme version of emotional reciprocation.
Gotcha.
There it is. And they'll do that in exchange for money,
Yeah.
right? Actually, here's another one. Entertainment. If you've ever gone to a show or paid for a movie, you're paying for feelings. You're paying for emotions. We bought Jumanji last night, again, for like the 4th time. And they made me feel excited the whole time. I got excited. I got happy. I felt sad. I felt scared. And then I laughed a lot. And seeing The Rock act like a scared little child is probably one of the funniest things you can experience. And that was emotional. There was no real other transaction there.
Right. Entertainment.
Entertainment is a form of emotional reciprocation. Awesome. Let's give Brian a round of applause. Great question. Love that. What else? Who's got an example of a time where you did something nice for somebody or didn't even know the value of what you were doing and it came back to you, came back in a positive way? Go ahead, Lois. I see you talking.
It's just overflowing. That's just too much. Okay, I'm.
You got a little echo going, yeah? So what's overflowing? What's too much? Go ahead.
Okay. So I go around and I give hugs to everybody and I just love on people. But then people pour back into me.
We can't hear you because you walked away from the computer. It's a weird thing with microphones. They seem to the distance. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We hear you like 1,000 times. It sounds like you're in the back of a cave.
Okay, turn my
There
phone
you
on.
go. Wow. Let's give her a round of applause. She figured it out. We're
I
back
have been
in
so
the game.
blessed just lately. I've been going through a really tough time, almost ended up homeless. And people that I didn't even know came and helped me move. And they've been, I had someone pay my rent for 2 months. That's huge. And these are people that I barely know, but they've seen something in me that I'm a giver, and I always see the optimism and always giving back. And so I'm not sure exactly how they perceive this, but I know, like at my meetup, so I had a meetup yesterday, and everybody that comes in gets a hug. And so I kind of am known for hugs. So there are a couple of people that I hadn't met before, and I always ask, can I give you a hug? I'm a hugger, you know? And then they're just like, oh, I needed that, you know? And so there's value there. And somehow it always comes back because I'm blessed to overflowing. And it works. That's what I'm saying. It works.
I like it. Let's give Lois a round of applause. And Mitch Jorsky, he's the scaredy cat guide to real estate investing. He also is kind of our quote guy. I don't know how it happened, but a long time ago, he started quoting Wu-Tang Clan, and then it started to elevate into rap quotes. And occasionally his quotes come from wherever he's inspired. Let's give Mitch Jorsky a round of applause. What's a rap quote or a scaredy cat quote for real estate investing? The law of reciprocity.
Yeah. Pigeonholing to just rap makes it a little tougher some weeks. A lot of weeks it's easy, but there's all sorts of good things, but I'm always still hell bent on trying to find a rap quote. And I think I found one. And it's from a song that was very popular back in the day from Miss Lauryn Hill. And really it's more so just about, you know, that aspect of go-giving, because sadly in this world we have givers and takers, but the latter is a short-term gratification, so to speak. So to quote from a song from the infamous Lauryn Hill, who was a character in herself, she said, "There comes many paths and you must choose one, and if you don't change, then the rain will soon come. See, you might win some, but you just lost one. You might win some, but you just lost one." And that is true as hell, because anytime I meet someone new and in the matter of weeks see that they're just good at take, all of a sudden the cat just slowly drifts away. Drifting away, you know. So we're not here to just take, you know. It's a give and take world, you know. We gotta help those that help themselves. Sometimes we have to help ourselves, and sometimes others help us. So ride the circle, ride the carousel. That is life.
Let's give Mitch Jorsky a round of applause. It is a give and take world. And one of the pieces I forgot to mention earlier, I'm going to throw it to you right now, is always ask for something in return. It goes along with the context. If you don't have a call to action of some sort in every interaction, you're missing out on an opportunity. If you don't let people know what you're looking for, how could they ever send you business? I made a post this week and I said, a true friend sends you business, right? True friends will send you business. I had over 300 likes on that and over 50 shares, which means something about the tribe of Alchemist Nation totally gets the fact that we should be sending each of our friends business. It's a belief system I've had for a long time. I've sent all my friends referrals. All my close friends get business from me continuously. It's one of the reasons we built Alchemist Nation the way we did, so that we could bring more people in and help more people find, you know, a way to grow their business, whether it's through referrals or it's through sending people business. We believe in giving quite a bit. And the reason it works, and it will work for you, is that if you let people know where you're looking to go, they can help you get there. If you don't ask for something, you'll never get it. So I want you to just keep that in mind. And this week, like every week, I want you to do a Facebook Live. I want you to go live. I want you to share with your audience what you're looking for. Now, don't do it in a way where you're out there, but like, look, if you're not sending me business, screw you. We're never going to be friends. That would be a little harsh. But if you say, hey, this is something I'm willing to give, I'm willing to give this, or I've been given something and I want to make sure that I give something back. And here's one of the things I'm looking for at the end of your video, to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. If you know somebody who's got capital to invest, or if you know somebody who's got a house to sell, or if you know somebody who's looking to buy a house, or if you know somebody who's looking for a loan, or is looking to have a property manager, just think about your business and offer the call, offer the free consultation. Be willing to give on your social media. Be willing to give on a free live today. Show of hands if you know how to turn the camera towards you and turn the Facebook Live button on. Excellent. So today I'm going to ask you to go out, create a Facebook Live that talks about the law of reciprocity, the law of giving, right? The law, wealth principle 15, how to leverage the law of reciprocity. Go and give some value to the people who are watching you, following you. And you may find out there's not a lot of people following you. That's okay. Do the video anyway. Go and do the live and share what you're willing to give away. Share that you're willing to give something away, whether it's a free call, whether it's a free conversation, and just let the people know, hey, I just learned about the law of reciprocity today, and I want to give something away. I want to start giving more. You may already be a great giver, but does your Facebook following know that you're offering this service for free, this extremely valuable service free? You wrote something down in the principle today. Go and share what that is. Share what you're willing to give. Share the value of it and the fact that you're willing to give it freely. And if somebody knows somebody, how they could offer something in return. Show of hands if we understand the mission, we understand what we're doing today. Awesome. Go ahead, Roland.
Yeah, so, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I just felt compelled to provide an example of what you're asking everyone to go do on Facebook Live right here. And so I am a property manager. I'm the rental property den master, and I will give everyone here on a call a free book. What I'm asking for, what I need is ambitious investors in the Tampa metro area that's looking to increase and grow their portfolio. I'm also looking for investors who need funding for their rehab, that we do that as well. So if you have an investor that has a need to have their property rehab and doesn't have the funding, I'd be more than happy to talk to those individuals. And in exchange, I will send you out my free book, The Rental Property Investment Den Master, How to Do Property Management in a way that keeps the gray hairs out of your head.
Let's give Roland a round of applause. I got his book right here. And wouldn't you know, I got it signed. Roland, if I can correct one thing, show of hands if it's okay if I do a little coaching real quick before we jump off. Awesome. So one thing I would correct, the only thing, is have one product. Have one product, because when you say I want to hang with motivated investors in the Tampa area, people who want to buy real estate in the Tampa area, and then you say also I provide financing, the mind suddenly lost what you really are.
Yeah.
So confused minds say no, let's keep it together. And this goes for everybody on this call. I know you provide a tremendous amount of value. Each one of you has multiple paths you can go down. One of the principles that Ron and I and Darina now agree upon is that we only sell one product. Alchemist Nation as a whole, as a value, as an entire community, as an entire culture, we only sell one service. We only sell one product. And that's now a principle that we're running through the entire company. One thing, all we sell is one service, one product, and that is the ideal boots on the ground, your trusted team. That's all we're going to sell going forward. Show of hands if that makes it a lot easier to know what we do. We sell the boots on the ground. That's our service. That's our full product. We sell the boots on the ground for you to buy real estate in your local market. Now, have we gotten to your local market? That's this leadership team's responsibility and goal. We're going to make sure that we build the right teams in your market. We're only going to sell one thing. And that makes it a lot easier to remember who we are and what we do. And from now on, Roland, I bet when he goes into a group, he is the property manager of Tampa. Roland, is that true or true?
Yes.
Give Roland a round of applause. Great job, brother. So that being said, go do your Facebook Live, Law of Reciprocity. For everybody who's in the mastery program, I will see you at 12 o'clock for our mastermind call. Go get some food, get some lunch, do your Facebook Live before we jump into the call. And for everybody else, cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best.
Thank you.
Marvelous. Thank you all very much.
Love you, bro.
Awesome. Love